So as you know, we have a ton of weapons in Soul Leveling Rise. I think we're at 66 weapons in this game, and regardless of their rarity, some are more useful than the others. So in this guide, let me help you navigate through them. We have new SSRs and also new SR Hunter exclusive weapons. Wow, that was a mouthful. So let's go over all of these weapons here. And just as a disclaimer, tier lists are biased opinions by the content creators. Don't give them hate. If your opinion differs, just put them down below in the comment section. If you think one weapon is better, tell me about it. I would love to hear your opinions. Don't just say this is bad or you should have done this, etc. We want to basically construct better information, so let me know down below exactly what you think towards our completed tier list. And also, as a reminder, new codes are coming out, so don't forget to support us. To get the codes you have to be supporting, you can just go to the link down below. We are rank number 2. I feel like we're so close to rank number 1. So let's try our best to be the rank number 1 creator. And a quick shout out to App for the first comment on our last video. Again, congrats to you and enjoy your very exclusive Discord role. So let's go ahead and start with the tier list. I want to start things off with the new weapon. This weapon right here is currently the best weapon in the game. At least in terms of an SR weapon, the damage output it has is insane. The core attack burst, and by burst I mean it's on rapid fire. You can keep dishing out those core attacks non-stop. It is an endless amount of damage, though the only thing that annoys me with the bow is the long cooldown it has, so you're kind of waiting in between weapon hits to activate the core attack yet again, because you do kind of rely on the skill. Although it doesn't deal damage, you do use it to increase your core gauge counter. Well, that's okay, it's still one of the best weapons, if not best, currently in the game right now. And of course, with rares, they aren't necessarily bad, but they find themselves in their own tier. That's because with rares, you can use them if you have them to a 10, for example. They provide a bonus to your HP, attack, etc. because you have them to a 10, so don't sleep on them. You can equip them on your hunters that you aren't using, or also even Sung Jinwoo if you don't have any weapons at all. So just keep that in mind. The A10 rare bonus is honestly pretty good. Now with that cleared, let's go on to our SR weapons. There are a lot of them here, but in general, ones that I don't really find any use for would be the shield here, and also, where is it? The shield being our hunter weapon. There's really not too much use in the steel shield, so it is in our F tier. Though that doesn't make it useless per se. You could use it on a hunter if you have the shield advanced up, but you won't really find too much use for it. The same goes with the rock golem hammer. I mean, I can't think of a real use for it at all. It does give us a substantial shield, but shields are kind of useless in the game right now, so off in the F tier you go. Now again, a lot of these choices are subjective by myself, right? So these are all just opinion of choices. So something like steel axe, kind of useless. The steel sword as well, you won't really see too much use out of it. The steel staff, again, most of these SRs aren't going to see too much use. Night killer's alright, deals okay damage. Its advancements aren't too bad as well. Same with Casca's Venom Fang, honestly, one of the best SRs we have in the game right now, and it is getting the SR version, so definitely useful. Same thing with Steel Dagger, basically any steel weapon, just gonna find itself in our B tier. You won't really use it, you'll just tag it onto your hunters. That is when you don't have their hunter exclusive weapon. Again, these don't matter too much. We have certain best SRs we will use, and everything else is kind of just filler. Now, one SR that's honestly quite amazing is the Orb of Avarice. It was basically our best fire weapon until the bow came out, so easily in our SS tier. The same goes for a longbow. Where is it? There we go. It's one of the better weapons we have, easily in our SS tier as well. It works fantastically with Huntsman, for example, or even Plum, depending on what you have, to deal with those bosses that do have a light elemental weakness, so a fantastic weapon to use. Now, Oryx Broadsword, I'm going to be a bit biased here. I'm putting in our A tier, just because it's kind of useful for battlefield time. You can get use out of it, so that is going to be one of my biased choices. And we have something like Ancient Grimoire. This is pretty good. It provides us HP, which a lot of our hunters do need, and with the hunters that do need HP to scale off their damage or skills off of, we're not generally going to focus their hunter exclusive weapons, at least early on, so this will come in clutch, giving them bonus HP to provide additional scaling. I use this on Emma very often, so this is easily in our A tier. A fantastic weapon to use for the boost. And actually, one other weapon that's really good is this one right here. It provides us crit damage as the passive ability, so you can't really go wrong with that. And also with the Grimoire, I should mention, it increases our power gauge, so it's very good in that regard as well. It goes on to support units, for example, making sure their skills come up much faster. Now, we do have something like Westwind as well, and honestly, I think people would say it's the best weapon in the game, but I'm just going to put in our SR tier. I don't want it to necessarily outshine our SR weapons, but I can tell you right now, Westwind is used in every single aspect of the game, from story mode to battlefield time to power of destruction. Every single aspect of the game you can find use for with the Westwind. I wouldn't be surprised if it gets nerfed, so do stay tuned for that. I know battlefield time, the devs do want to mix it up, making sure not everyone is just spamming Westwind, trying to get that crit RNG off. It makes it kind of boring, so hopefully they do nerf it into the ground. I feel like some people might get mad if I say that, but anyways, we also have the Burning Grimoire right here, pretty good. I would just put it in our A tier, it's not bad, it's a decent fire weapon to use if you don't have the orb. A fair replacement, but it's not going to give you too much use in terms of the raw damage, but it's certainly not weak. It does give us a lot of skill damage increases, so not too bad. But anyways, moving on, we have a series of other SR weapons here. Honestly speaking, none of these are necessarily bad. They can all find themselves generally in our A tier, so we can't really say which one's better or worse. I mean, it's not going to make that much of a difference. You're only using his weapons in very specific scenarios, like the Lustrous Dragon Sword. Very good for free play, especially early on. It's a really good weapon to use for Igris, but again, for the late game, these weapons in general are not going to see use out of them, so we're just going to fill up the list here based on what I believe is best. Again, these are all just my biased choices. With SR weapons, it's kind of hard to say which one's the best, which one's the worst, but we do know some are obviously not that great, but with a lot of them, they'll just find themselves in their own tier. So these are just my general picks on what I would use if I was forced to use them. And actually, I'm going to move this up here, and that makes more sense. The same goes for our bow, one of the better hunter choices. And I wouldn't compare our Jinwoo weapons to our hunter weapons. So if you see like a hunter weapon here, that's kind of where it compares to our other hunter weapons, just so you know. And with these last two weapons, they can just find themselves here. Actually, this one's not that great. Probably right here is where it deserves to go. So that's it for our SRs. Let's get to the nitty gritty with our SR weapons. I'll start off with Sung Jinwoo's weapons and then move on. So first off, we have Plum, basically one of the most well-rounded weapons in the game. It definitely deserves a top spot in our SS tier. It provides skill damage bonuses, crit damage bonuses, crit rate bonuses. What doesn't it give us? Pairs so well with every weapon. Same thing with the Grimoire. The Grimoire is so good. Oh my goodness. The erosion effect boosting our damage. Oh, I cannot get enough of it. Scatty though, on the other hand, I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's not doing too hot. So if your custom rate up list, is it worth replacing some other weapons? No, it's not. It's definitely a good weapon, but with the Grimoire paired with any other weapon we have, to do normal Vulcan for example, you don't need Scatty, so it's kind of a redundant choice. It's not weak, it's not overpowered, it's just good. So in our S tier is exactly where it falls. And then we have weapons like Vulcan and the Demon King's Longsword. These don't see too much use. The Huntsman as well is kind of falling off, though it's still in our SS tier, but at the very bottom I would say. It's certainly good, but you can replace it fairly easily. Moonshadow though. Moonshadow in the earlier tiers is not good, especially compared to our bow. It is no comparison, but if you have it to A3, that's where stacks start building quite fast, so it's a very strong weapon. Although I do like Grimoire more, I'm not going to keep my bias in the way of really ranking this properly, so it does go here. But I would still say for the majority of players, Scythe is the way to go. Again, we get 2 free copies of it, so this is my biased choice. I do think Scythe is definitely right here in terms of rankings, but again, if there were the same advancement, I would pick Moonshadow, at least if it's above A3, but for the early game and most players, Scythe is the way to go, but if you are late game, Moonshadow will definitely find itself right over here. It is one of the stronger weapons we have, if not one of the strongest, minus the bow of course. So that's just my general choice, my biased choice, don't forget. This is a very biased tier list. And then we have 2 other weapons. Yeah, so we have the Longsword. It's not that great, but it's not bad. You can still use it, especially when wind content comes out. We'll definitely be using that, I'm sure. And Vulcan's Rage, still in our S tier. It is a fire weapon. It got buffed as well, so we do have to remember that. So definitely not in our A tier, it's an SR weapon. So this is where it finds itself. And now we have those new SR SSR Hunter exclusive weapons, we have Kang's. Kang's is very good, honestly. Provides additional attack damage, that being the user's back attack damage, so it's definitely our A tier. Kang is a very strong SR Hunter. And then we have something like Johee's weapon, not that useful. It just provides us a shield bonus up to 5%, I believe, so not good. But we do have Nam's weapon, providing us a lot of bonus damage actually, and also reducing the target's defense, so I would put it ahead of Kang's, honestly speaking. We do see some use out of Nam, so her weapon should be priority. And then we have Kim's weapon, which is this one right here, I believe. I mean, same with Johee's weapon, not useful. Though Song's weapon, if I can find it here, I believe it's this one. It's actually not that bad, increases his mobbing capabilities, so just at the bottom. It's definitely not bad, you get more mobbing, more damage in. So I guess at the bottom of our SSR Hunter exclusive weapon tier list for SR Hunter, sorry, such a mouthful to say, but that's where I think my biased choice will be. And then we have all these other weapons, and we know for a fact Woo's weapon, right down here, nobody wants it. Who wants to use Woo, right? But jokes aside, he did get a buff, so his weapon isn't too bad, I guess, but in terms of an SR Hunter, I'm just going to put it at the top of our A tier. Disgusts me to do this. Other weapons that aren't too good as well, let me find it. It's always hard to find these. Dong So's weapon, right now, he doesn't need it. So down below here it goes. Actually, just because I don't like Woo, we'll do this. I can't be that biased, so I'll leave it there. The thing is, Woo's weapon is actually kind of decent. It provides a 20% damage bonus, if I recall, when he's in the meditation of power state. But anyways, I don't want to talk too much about Woo. Dong So's weapon isn't as good. It provides bonus wind damage. And he's just not a party hunter, so in the A tier goes as well behind Woo's weapon. And Lim's weapon as well, I mean, it's alright, provides some damage, but you're not going to get too much use out of Lim right now. He's just not a good hunter until they do buff him a little bit more, so that's where it goes. And now one weapon I do believe is kind of slept on would have to be Min's weapon. Min's weapon is fairly strong, and not because it's strong for him, it's just because when you use Heavenly Blessing, it increases your team's damage out by 16%. So in the SS tier it goes, in my opinion. And we have other hunter weapons. Although Choi is strong, I don't think his weapon is a priority right now, though in the future, that could change. So in the S tier it goes. And I should probably do this so it looks better. There we go. Hunter weapons will be towards the back for both the tiers. So as I go on, we have Yoonho's weapon as well. Yoonho's weapon is fine, but again, not a priority. We have top of our A tier it goes. Jiwoo's weapon, on the other hand, it is a gauntlet as well, or a glove if you want to call it that. It's one of the best weapons you can have for a hunter. It gives her so much crit damage. It stacks up to 20 times 6% of the max level for 120% crit, on top of a 20% base crit bonus, so one of the best hunter weapons in the game right now. Same with Alicia. You need her weapon, it's just good. Alicia is so strong. She's one of our top DPS hunters in the game, so at the top of our hunter SSR as it goes. The fact that it provides a 40% core damage increase is crazy, on top of bonus water damage, etc. So again, you do need it. And other hunter weapons you do need would be Cha's, I believe it's this one here. I always get Emma's weapon and her weapon confused, so this goes all the way in our SS tier. I still think getting Jiwoo's and Alicia's weapon is better, but that's just my biased choice. Of course, you can do her weapon first, depending on how many advancements you have, but again, just my biased opinion. Maylin's weapon is kind of a tough choice. It does give us a 16% damage increase, so do I put it ahead of Min's or do I put Min's ahead of hers? Tough call, honestly. I would say I would probably have her weapon ahead of Min's just because Maylin has seen increased use due to the shield removal, etc. But those two weapons are both very powerful, providing necessarily the same effect. And in other hunter weapons we have here, Silvermane's. Silvermane doesn't see too much use right now. Tough call where I want to put it. Probably in our A tier, right behind Choi's weapon. Choi's is much better, increasing his attack, and also, don't forget, reducing the target's defense. And as you know, targets are very tanky as of late. They have a lot of defense, hard to get through. Emma's weapon though, it's alright. It does give her nice boosts, including to her passive effects, but still doesn't see too much use as of late. It'll be in our S tier until they buff Emma. I don't think her weapon is a priority. She's kind of getting outclassed, but she's a breaker still. Although she isn't the number one mobber, Alicia is kind of taking that spot. Her weapon is still good, it's not bad, it's not A tier level worthy, but certainly some better options here. Actually, I think this is the right call. Silvermane doesn't see too much use still, so Emma's weapon is probably much better in that regard. And then for our new hunter, Yu So-hyun, she is definitely one of the stronger hunters we have in the game right now. I would have to say her weapon would fall ahead of Cha's, but Jinwoo is just so good. It's kind of hard to say which one I prefer more. I feel like I'll put a weapon right here, though this is honestly a very tough call. I would say either of these weapons would be a top priority, just because Jinwoo is so easy to build and she's so good, so tanky. If I break, I'm going to put that weapon there instead. And don't forget, her weapon is honestly very good, provides her a ton of defense pen, and also bonus damage to her core attack, including the improved version, so this is where I think it should go, but again, interchangeable honestly. And then Libora's weapon, tough call. Libora isn't bad, but she's not like Silvermane level, but she's not Yunho level, she's not Lim level, as in she's better than Lim and Yunho, so I would have to say she's kind of in her own like A.5 tier, honestly. She's pretty strong and she's a support, but she hasn't found her click in the game, so her weapon should fall right here, and wow, it looks like we're done our tier list, so this is what it kind of looks like. I really wonder what everyone thinks. Again, biased tier list, everyone. Bias. These are just my general opinions. I'm sure we can put something like Scatty in the SS tier. It's still good, and some people might say, well, how about Kang's weapon? It's probably better than Nam's. I mean, these one spot positions don't matter too much. I still think Nam's is better, for example, but anyways, here's a tier list. I hope you enjoyed. Do let me know your opinions. And also, don't forget to support us on our Marvel Supporter Program. We are ranked number 2. Support us. We won't rank number 1. Come on, we can do it. But yeah, do subscribe for more content like this. And again, subscribe to the channel. This was Zaf signing out.